Hello. Welcome to Free Final Discovery. Decided to break it up a little bit today. It's the halfway mark. Finally, we are halfway through these albums. I'm sure that'll be good news for a lot of people. The series is now just as near its finish as it is to its start. Today is an interesting one though, because it's 57 albums in total, Free Vinyl Discovery. But we have two albums that are the same. So that is why I've chosen to cover China Crisis and their second album, Working with Fire and Steel, Possible Pop Songs Volume 2, together as one video. I'm sure you feel cheated. I don't blame you, but we are just going to talk about these two albums in one video today. Let's talk about the condition of both of these albums. One of them is a little bit tattier to look at. This one is the one that's tattier to look at. On the outside, the cover has got some of these lovely little mystery stains that we talked about before. It's not a gatefold album, neither of them are, so imagine my disappointment to find that one wasn't doubled. The other one looks great on the outside. Let's talk about the tracks on these albums quite succinctly, for they are the same on both. The album opens with Working with Fire and Steel, which is quite an introduction to the sound of China Crisis. This was the first album I'd ever heard of them. Well, this was the first album I'd ever heard of theirs. This was the second album I'd ever heard of theirs. They open the same. Working with Fire and Steel opens it, and it is very 80s, very pop-centric. It's quite fun, I'm not gonna lie, but it's something that gets a little bit tiring on both of these albums as the A-side at least progresses, because then you've got Hannah Hannah, Animals in Jungle, and Here Comes a Rain Cloud. This was actually the first album I listened to. This one was the first album I listened to in this Free Vinyl Discovery journey when I was just deciding to start listening to every single one, but before I started making videos about them. So what an innocent time in the Free Vinyl Discovery timeline. I have now listened to Working with Fire and Steel 3 times in total across 2 copies, and they're not sticking in my mind. If they haven't at this point, they're probably never going to. That being said, there is plenty still to come. Wishful Thinking is a really sweet track, a great one to open up the B-side, and actually a track that I already knew before, so maybe that's my bias coming in there. But my favourite new discovery was The Gates of Door to Door, which is very simplistic, and yet it works really well. The hook is really catchy. I really like the chorus, she dreams of childhood. I don't know why, really tickles my fancy. Overall though, China Crisis are a band, and I've got 2 copies of the same album. They're fine. They're not something I would go, wow, I love China Crisis. It's not a band I would ever spend any money on. But they've got their place in 80s pop culture. It's a very small place, and there's a reason for that. But this is not, or these are not, the worst albums that I've listened to over the course of this project. And I know what's coming. I know these aren't going to be the worst that I listen to. So, what do you think of China Crisis? Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully this will make quite a good thumbnail, me holding 2 albums, and then you realise that they're the same. And what's great is you turn them round and they look exactly the same on the other side too, with the exception of this little mark at the bottom that lets you know that this is the back cover. So really it's like having 4 of the same. And I bet these don't even exist anymore. Being power stations like that, they're slowly getting eradicated, but I digress. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with me for as long as you have. I've learned a lot on this journey. I hope you have too. I know that I've brought a few artists to some of your attentions. China Crisis, give them a miss. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next week.